Welcome back. Let's work on the image endpoint here. And given what we've done so far, we can pretty much be sure that we won't be needing any of this. We're going to connect it to the database. Now, the image endpoint, if you remember, updates the entries and increases the count. So all we have to do is update. And let's look at connects and see if they have the update function. Yep, they do, and they give us good examples of how to do it. So let's use this as an example to create our update function. We'll just copy it here. And we know that with our db.where, we want to say that where the ID equals, and it's not 3 equals because this is SQL, where the ID equals the ID that we received in the body, then we want to update the entries to be higher than the entries that is currently there. But how can we do that? How can we grab the entries from the database and increase it? Again, this is a problem that's very common. And instead of selecting the ID, grabbing whatever the entries is, and updating it, well, we can simply use something called increment. And increment just tells us the column and the amount we want to increment it by. Very cool. Let's do that. Let's say that user ID, instead of update, we'll just do increment. And we'll do entries. And we just want it by 1. And the default is 1, I'm pretty sure, but I always like being explicit so that people know what's going on when they read the code. And let's do that. So we increment by 1. And then we want to say returning the entries. Let's do a dot then and see what we get. Console.log entries. And let's save. Go back to Postman. Let's find our image endpoint that has a body of ID. And we'll have to give it an ID that actually exists for now. So let's just do 1. Send. And going back here, we don't get anything because, well, we need to do a put request. Remember, we changed it to put. We send again. And it's hanging because we haven't given it a response. So we'll just cancel the request for now. But if we go back to the server, well, we can see that there's a bit of an error here. And we definitely made a silly error here. It has no idea what database we're talking about. We need to actually say users here. The SQL error sometimes can be really confusing, but like I said, it is pretty declarative. So as long as you can read it and understand it, with connects, errors are to a minimal, unless you're like me and you forget to actually mention the table. Let's try that again. Send. We're going to cancel the request because there's no response. But now I have 1 returned. If I send it again, cancel the request, I have 2. If I go back to the database and I select all, I see that Anne now has entries of 2. Amazing. So we can go back here now, knowing that this works. Let's say that entries, we want to again return the first array because we get 1. And instead of console logging, we'll say response.json entries. But if something fails, then we will do a dot catch, just like we failed over here. And we can say that error response.status, we'll give it another 400. And we'll say JSON unable to get count or entries. We will save that. And I'm going to actually remove this to make sure that the error is working. So it should return me a 400. Let's try that again. Send. Unable to get entries. 400 request. But if I fix this to users and select Anne again, I get 3. Awesome. All right, we got our image endpoint working, and we have our final endpoint to work on, which is sign in. That's for the next video. I'll see you in that one. Bye-bye.